Minutes. But first of all, let me inquire how much time we have before I begin. How much time on each side?
5.5 minutes, sir.
I'm sorry.
5.5 minutes.
And how much on the other side?
They have 6.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, you have to ask, how did they come up with this great idea to put this bill on the House floor today under the suspension of the rules? This calendar is usually put in place for non-controversial bills. But this is a controversial bill. And in fact, it's a bill that never had a single hearing in the Energy and Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction. Not only would it eliminate national standards, it would bar any state standards, taking away long-standing state authority to improve efficiency in the absence of federal action. And we should have cleaned up the drafting of this bill that eliminates all efficiency standards for fluorescent lighting. I oppose this bill, first of all, on procedural grounds. We shouldn't adopt legislation with significant impacts without a single hearing or markup to understand what it does. But I strongly oppose this Bulb Act on substance. It would undermine job growth, strand investments that have been made to make sure that we meet these new standards, waste $12 billion a year on unnecessary electricity bills, and increase pollution. I don't think my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would come to the floor and say, why are we requiring new cars to meet tighter emission standards or tighter pollution standards? Let the public be able to choose the old ones that polluted more? I'd be amazed if the colleagues on the other side of the aisle came here and said, why should we have more efficient dryers and washers and refrigerators? We like the old ones that were less efficient. This bill is absolutely unnecessary. In 2007, the lighting industry and the efficiency advocates reached a consensus on national standards to make light bulbs more efficient and avoid a patchwork of conflicting state standards. And effective January 1 of next year, these national standards will go into effect. So what we have is an attempt to repeal a proposal that was offered by our current chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Upton, and former Congresswoman Jane Harman. It passed on a bipartisan voice vote with members of both sides of the aisle speaking in favor. This bill, which they want to repeal, was signed into law by President George W. Bush as part of the 2007 Energy Independence and Security Act. Since it was signed into law, manufacturers have made millions of dollars in investments to produce more efficient incandescent bulbs. Not one manufacturer, but a number of manufacturers can compete and are competing once they can figure out how to meet these standards, and they're doing it very well. The new incandescent bulb looks and works just like the old incandescent bulb. In fact, we know this to be the case. The only difference between this bulb and the old one is it will last longer, cost less over the life of the bulb. American families will save an average $100 a year with the new standards. This is particularly welcome in today's tough economy, and it adds up to a nationwide savings of $12 billion a year. These investments are creating new jobs in the United States. While most manufacturers moved their production of the old incandescent bulbs overseas years ago, research and development and high technology manufacturing is now happening here. For example, there are LED facilities now in North Carolina, California, and Florida. This is a growth industry. Philips hired 100 more people at its LED facility last year. If we repeal this law and enact this so-called Bulb Act, we will repeal standards that are driving this competition, and we'll switch back to a time where U.S. jobs would return to China and Mexico. On January 1, 2012, we'll be able to buy a better incandescent light bulb that looks and feels the same as the old ones. You don't have to buy compact fluorescents now. You don't have to buy them on January 1, 2012. You can buy the better incandescent bulbs or LEDs, neither of which contain mercury. That's more choice, not less. Well, if this bill had moved under regular order, they might have heard at a hearing that the following groups are now opposing this legislation to repeal the law: the National Electric Manufacturers Association, the Consumers Union, the Consumer Federation of America, the American Lighting Association, the National Association of State Energy Officials, the National Association of Energy Service Companies, Pacific Gas and Electric Company, Seattle City Light, Johnson Controls, Philip Electronics, United Technologies Corporation, United Steelworkers, Alliance to Save Energy, National Wildlife Federation, and the Environmental Defense Fund. I urge my colleagues to oppose this bill and not repeal a law that's working as we intended it to.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas.
Thank you. And how much time do I have left, Mr. Speaker?
You have 6 minutes.
6 minutes? Okay, I'm going to yield. I'm the only other speaker, so I'm going to yield myself the balance of the time.
The gentleman's
because
recognized.
his time has expired. Is that not correct?
That is. The gentleman from California has 30 seconds remaining.
Does the gentleman wish to use his 30 seconds and then let me close?
His time has expired.
Yield back the balance of our time, and the gentleman's free to close.
I thank my good friend from California. So I yield myself the balance of the time.
The gentleman is recognized.
I've listened, Mr. Speaker, with interest to what my friends on the Democrat side have said about this bill. And I think in the interest of fairness, we ought to call a spade a spade. It is true that the law that they're defending does not automatically ban incandescent light bulbs. That's a true statement. What it does is set efficiency standards that the existing 100-watt and 60-watt and 75-watt bulbs can't meet. So they're effectively banned because they can't meet the standard. As has been pointed out by Mr. Doyle and several of the other speakers, it's also true that industry has developed new incandescent light bulbs that do meet the standard. What they haven't done is developed a new incandescent light bulb that meets the standard at existing cost. You know, what gets left out of the equation on my friends on the Democratic side of the aisle is the cost to purchase these new bulbs, whether they're the squiggly-tailed CFLs or the new, more energy-efficient incandescents. We're not opposed. I'm not opposed to CFL lighting. I'm not opposed to the new incandescents. But I am opposed to telling my constituents that they have no choice at all, that they've got to go and fork over $1.50 or $2.50 or $6, or in the case of the LEDs that Mr. Waxman just referred to, a minimum of $12, and the average price of the new LED lighting at Home Depot or Lowe's is $40 a bulb. Now, I'm young enough to remember when I was a renter and I would move into an apartment, and when I went into the apartment there were no light bulbs. The people that left took the light bulbs with them. So I'd have to go out and buy 20 or 30 or 40 light bulbs. Well, if light bulbs are 20 cents a piece or 25 or 30 or even 40 cents a piece, that's an expense, but it's not exorbitant. You go out and replace 40 light bulbs at $6 a pop, you're spending some money that to our constituency, to our voters, Mr. Speaker, that's real money. Again, we're not opposed to new technology. We're not opposed to more energy-efficient incandescents. But why take the low end of the market off the market? Why not give our constituents, i.e., our consumers, our voters, the choice? If you're Al Gore and you want to spend $10 a light bulb, more power to you. More power to you. But if you're a young family that's just getting started, give us the option to go out and spend for a package of 4 or a package of 6 the equivalent of 25 cents a piece or 30 cents a piece, or as I purchased last week at a food store here in Virginia, 37.5 cents a piece for 4 60-watt light bulbs. We're saying let the market work. We're saying let people make their own choices. Why in the world does the federal government have to tell people what kind of lights to use in their home? That's not anywhere in the constitutional requirement of the federal government. And this bill that was passed in 2007 had a lot of preemptions of state and local. It preempted state and local building codes. It required historical buildings to meet certain standards by the year 2050. It had so many bad things in it that this one, while offensive, was kind of the least of the evils. But it's also, Mr. Speaker, what the average voter, the average consumer understands. When I go to the grocery store or to Walmart or to Home Depot, you know, let me decide what kind of lighting, let me decide what kind of energy efficiency I want. Now, it is a true statement that these new bulbs are more energy efficient. But if it takes you 10 years to realize the efficiency and the only way you do it is by leaving it on all the time, you know, it's spending money to save money that some people don't have. Again, purchase a classic 100-watt or 60-watt incandescent light bulb for less than 50 cents. You might use it, you might not, but if you use it all week, it's going to cost you less than a nickel. And if you use it like the average consumer, it's going to cost you a penny to 2 cents a week to use. So, do you save money? The CFL that I bought last week for $6 or $5.99 is guaranteed for 10,000 years and says it'll save over $40. But you got to use it for 10 years. You know, I don't think that's a very good deal, with all due respect to my friends on the other side. So what we're saying is, let's get the federal government out of something they shouldn't have gotten in the first place. Let's go back and let the market operate. If these new CFLs and these new incandescents are as good as they claim to be, people are going to want to buy them. But if they're not, or if they can't afford the upfront cost, don't force them to. Don't take off the market the very thing that provides price competition in the market. Even the new incandescents cost on the average $1.50 to $2 a pop. And I haven't seen a CFL. I've seen them for $10 or $12. Average price is around $6 or $7. I haven't seen them even in the most energy efficient package for less than about $2.50, $3 a piece. And again, if you're buying a lot of light bulbs at one time, that's real money, Mr. Speaker. And what we say is, let's repeal this part of the bill. Let's also say, with regards to mercury, that you cannot mandate mercury. That's the section that Mr. Waxman was apparently referring to. We're not banning fluorescence. We're simply saying you cannot require mercury to be used in the CFLs. So I would urge an aye vote on the pending legislation, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman's time has expired. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass H.R. 2417? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, two-thirds being in the affirmative, the gentleman from California is recognized.
I demand a roll call vote.
The gentleman asks for the yeas and nays.
Yes.
Yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having arisen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess for a period of less than 15 minutes. Approximately 6:30. Gavel down.
The House is taking a break now. Members have been working on amendments to the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill. A number of recorded votes have been requested and will be held at 6:30 Eastern this evening in less than 15